listening.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Thank you. Start with a roll call. McKee here. Lanterman.
Here.
Friedrich.
Here.
Berenkamp.
Here.
Nichols.
Still here.
All righty. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, agenda approval. Anything from staff?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. From council, I have one. I'm going to move based on comment cards 6I to that 7 category, the consent agenda items removed for consideration, so we can have discussion on that and take comment. So other than that, any other changes from council?
In work session, we talked about needing to add an item to the agenda to talk about long-range planning funding being allocated toward a traffic study.
Was that with this?
Yes, I was going to bring that up during staff reports, and I confirmed with our attorney that that is necessary.
We could do that.
Okay.
So you don't need us to add anything, just cover it then?
Correct.
Great, thank you.
So make it an addition.
No motion, never mind.
Thank you. Okay, so anything else? No. Then we just have that one change, 6I moving to 7. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have a presentation for a 5-year award for Eric Gregory.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we get to honor Eric Gregory tonight for 5 years of hard work in our Public Works Department. You see him sitting there smiling in our new street sweeper. So that's that. Eric, could you please come forward? As he's coming forward, he's super humble. He's Mr. Fix-It. One of the things that I think is super cool is he just recently won another tractor pull. So he's a man of many talents.
And you're recording. Okay. We do, in keeping with tradition, have some fun facts. We did a 2021 one not too long ago, so there's nothing too crazy. But Krill Kaprizov's rookie season scored 27 goals and 51 points on our Wild's first Calder Cup winner, rookie of the year. Anthony Edwards' first season, so for a change, good Minnesota sports on one of these. Daniel Craig's last Bond film came out that year, and the top grossing movie was Spider-Man: No Way Home, which grossed $1.9 billion worldwide. Thank you.
Eric, you want to say anything?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to work here. It's been a great fit, and I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Awesome. We're grateful for you.
Mr. Mayor, I got a couple of public service announcements I'd like to ask Eric. Are you appearing in Ogilvie for the tractor pull on Friday?
I am possibly going to help some friends, yes.
Are you going to the tractor pull at the Lions Park on Saturday?
I will be there.
There you go. If you got nothing better to do, the Lions do a really good job. He's fun to watch too, folks.
And what's the name of your tractor?
Vintage Red.
Say it one more time.
Vintage Red.
Vintage Red. Awesome. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, man. Good luck. Thank you.
Alrighty, on to open forum for tonight. There are items not on tonight's agenda. Do we have anything, Jay?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a couple here. I want to make sure that I don't miss any here because we have an abundance of interest comment cards. So I believe I have 3. So just a reminder, limit remarks to 3 to 5 minutes, address the dais, state your name and address for the record. And first would like to invite 3. First would like to invite Liz Calvert up to the microphone.
Mr. Mayor, too. Well, Liz is coming up, may I?
Sure.
Folks, I really need you to stop the sidebar conversations. We're all here to listen, please. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Liz Calvert, and I'm a Bellwether resident. I live at 10253 Elm Lane. Short and sweet, I'm not in favor of our Elm Lane being a corridor between either one of, which would be 101 and the Highway 30, which would be connecting, would connect with the Springs development through my road, Elm Lane. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Liz.
Next, Kim Svoboda, please come and state your name and address for the record.
Kim Svoboda, 19570 102nd Place. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I wasn't planning to speak at open forum. I was planning to speak a little later, but based on the working session, I felt compassion to speak up about a few things. I have a concern if you look at only closing either 102nd or Elm, that's just going to push traffic to the other entrance to our neighborhood. I think neither of them are a good fit for our neighborhood, which is 55 and over, as you know, very windy roads, relaxed neighborhood, not a cut-through neighborhood. There's the safety of our residents along with the safety of the residents in the Springs. They have people who need to get to their clubhouse and their pool, and they'd be crossing public roads if we let ours go through. In addition, I think I'm glad to see that we're finally talking about the traffic on 30, 101, and 116, and I think it's good that we're going to look at it holistically and not in little silos of what develops one at a time. I do appreciate that the 2040 plan and the Northeast District plan have been around, and that's been what's been working towards, but I do feel like we need to reevaluate and see what's right for now in the current situation and what has developed and how do we get the commercial in place. I really hope we can figure out something for Continental. I think personally they seem to be a very good company. They have been willing to talk with residents and try to help work on adjacent properties with negativity, and I really hate to see them walk away. When the county was here about 2 meetings ago, they strictly said that there was nothing on the 5 or 10-year plan for 30, 101, or 116. Yet I noticed in tonight's agenda that it said that 30 was maybe on the 10-year plan. So I'm just curious which is really happening, and there may be different people saying that. I do concern if we are going to be changing zoning from mixed use to PUD. I understand why we do it and more leniencies in that, but I sure hope we hold up those more strict restrictions when it comes up against single-family residential, and not, you can, okay, change it along 30 or on other roads, but not when you're butting up against the residential that are there. I wanted to address one of the comments about if we closed 102nd and Elm, there would be a conflict with walkability. I disagree with that. Closing a road does not prevent people from walking. They can still walk get to anything in the neighborhood. We're not trying to prevent people from walking in. That's it for this. See you in a little while on the next item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then last, Mr. Mayor, Kevin Golden. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kevin Golden. I live at 10069 Mulberry Lane, also in the Bellwether development. So I think the point that we're trying to ask the council to consider is we're not opposed to growth. We actually think that the Springs, as a multifamily development, is pretty well laid out. There are a lot 2-story buildings, not 7-story buildings. So there's a lot to like about that, and we have worked with them a little bit, and they seem amenable. But what we are asking council is to consider whether the roadway connections that are planned 10 or 15 years ago are still appropriate now with the current land use and the transportation environment around Bellwether, which has substantially changed. Do yesterday's connectivity assumptions still make sense under today's conditions? And I think you talked about that a little bit at the working session earlier. When Bellwether was planned, much of the surrounding area was still agricultural preservation, low intensity. Bellwether was rezoned to RSF PUD, and the streets were laid out around that residential use and the characteristics of a 55-plus community with winding, traffic-calmed roads, slower residential environment. And at that time, there were no known development connections on either side of the stubs that were installed. But since then, the surrounding properties have been rezoned and planned for substantially different uses like mixed use and commercial, business park, and higher intensity residential development. The key point is that the land use assumptions surrounding the original design have changed, and perhaps those connections also should be looked at again. So from what I can tell, the developer is not interested in building 102nd or Elm. The residents of Bellwether are not interested in building 102nd and Elm, but apparently the city thinks that those need to go through, but we think there's some safety concerns if you do build those, especially with connections to a new business park or other commercial uses, a lot of traffic going through the neighborhood because they don't have good access to County Road 30 or 101 or 116. So we just want you to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it, Mr. Mayor.
All right. If there's no one else, then we'll move on to consent agenda, which consists of now 6A through 6H. Does anyone want to pull anything? I would suggest maybe we pull 6C to recognize and 6F for discussion. Anything else?
I agree with this 6C. Thank you.
Anything else? All right, I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items A, B, D, E, G, and H.
So
Make
moved.
the motion. Second.
Perfect. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
C, Dean, do you want to take the lead on that?
Yeah, huge thank you to staff. The effort put forth, one of you aren't here. Danny was kind of the organizer of the whole thing. She just happened to have her young baby today. So if nobody knew that, I'm sorry, but I got a really cool picture from Grandma. So great job. You guys, that's a lot of planning on your guys' part. Public Works, having it out there, that's a lot of equipment put away, moved, ran around, chairs set up, everything. Thank you so much. Huge thanks to all of the people that donated.
Yeah.
We could not do it with our budget and such without those donations. So
Which is all listed in Exhibit A.
it is all listed there. Those are all great businesses in our city. Thank you very, very much. And the cost on the city side is minimal on compared to the cost of all of the donations and such. So I'm not sure what else you wanted to say, Mayor, but
I think you know that. Just want to make sure
it's pretty darn cool.
A lot of people put a lot of time into that, and the donations were huge, and another great event. So good job. Alrighty, I'll entertain a motion to approve consent agenda item C.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then F. So I wanted to have some discussion here. There was conversation, I believe, at the last Parks and Trails Commission meeting.
And then also, Mr. Mayor, we received a recent letter or email from Bellwether residents. There was a gathering last Wednesday discussing the future of their neighborhood park, and they have some helpful feedback and some interests. One of the concerns that they had was they want to have further discussion about some of the ideas that were being discussed. And part of the catalyst for the discussion for advancing this, if you recall, was there's an opportunity for a $300,000 grant that's a youth activities grant. And one of the emphasis within their feedback was questioning whether youth activities fit with the character of their community. And so I think that warrants further discussion, but we do have a timeline for this grant submission. So staff's recommendation would be, in order to facilitate greater opportunity for further discussion, that we actually shift this grant focus to a younger neighborhood, which is Tavera, which is also in the work plan. And they would be very much in favor of having a playground in their neighborhood, and that would be in fitting with what they're desiring, so that then we create space for further discussion with the Bellwether community.
Yeah, okay.
I'd be very much for that.
just direction?
It's just authorization.
Authorization?
Just authorization to go for the grant application that's due on September 10th, so we are kind of a quick turnaround.
Yeah. I think
So-
if there wants to be more discussion on other options and planning stuff for Bellwether Park, we can pivot this for Tavera and then have those discussions.
What's beautiful about it, Mr. Mayor, is if we come to the same conclusion, we can apply for the grant again next year. So it's really the timeliness of this application process and creating space in order to have those further conversations with Bellwether when we know that this is what Tavera has been asking for.
Makes sense.
Do we have a priority between when those two projects would ideally start? Like, we have a schedule, we wanted to do one before the other?
That, if you recall the guidance when we had the joint session, that was one of the priorities that council had provided to the commission, and so this was really part of the discussion. I'll let JCB.
Okay. So part of the discussion at the Parks and Trails level was Bellwether, that area had been there for longer. We've gotten a lot of feedback. That's not to say we haven't heard back from Tavera residents who have also expressed an interest in things such as the playground and walking trails. And with it, we had gotten quite a big turnout last week, and there were some questions on whether the grant would truly be applicable for a 55-plus area. That's where we kind of thought, well, if we're trying to use this as a catalyst to get another park up and going, we've heard that we have people interested in having a playground in Tavera, maybe it makes more sense to pivot, and we can reevaluate if this grant is appropriate for the neighborhood in the Northeast versus the Tavera neighborhood.
I'll make a motion to authorize that.
Second.
Third.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then, let's see here. 6I is the one we moved out of onto 7, yeah, I believe it is. So we'll, Kevin, is that a you presentation or you update?
I can, I wouldn't, usually we don't prepare a presentation for
Could
consent.
you just give us a quick rundown, and then, sounds like we have comment requests?
Yeah, so this is just an update on the original Bellwether development had kind of a contract stipulation on how to handle what was Phase 4, which was the former Newman West property. There's an exhibit in the figure that identifies Phase 4 and 5. When originally approved, it was solely access off of Hunter's Ridge. There was this condition that if construction access had to use that, there was an additional improvement project trigger that kicked in. Before they developed that area, Amberley Bellwether came in, which allowed in construction access through, it actually is what's now Bellwether 6 and 9, right? And it allowed that access through, so they didn't need to use Hunter's Ridge. There was a 80% building permit condition that was associated with that, and they're at that condition, so they're, this is just to notify you that they've reached that condition, and we will be, our site developer will be getting to make that connection here this fall. So with that, I'd answer any specific questions if you have.
Mr. Mayor, I've got one. Kevin, on that connection with things that have happened along Hunter's Ridge and such, when is Hunter's Ridge scheduled for an overlay? Was that part of the agreement also when that connection's made that that would be done? Hunter's Ridge, the road has turned into a mess. And the residents that live there have put up with a lot the last 3 to 4 years.
So the other condition, so that's a good point, thank you. The other condition that Pulte did have to do with the construction of turn lanes at 116, so those were substantially completed last year. They're wrapping up here this year with restoration. And then there is a portion essentially from 116 to this connection, basically the existing residential street. There is a active feasibility study that has been authorized that we are resuming and we'll be bringing back to you later this fall for that conversation. That road is still eligible for a quote-unquote free overlay. There's bit curve there. We're doing an analysis and we'll be able to
when would that be?
We'd have to schedule it likely in October.
Okay.
The work would not be done this year, it would be
Yeah.
work for next year, but we would have an opportunity to make a decision on what that looks like. And so, to be clear, it is still eligible for free overlay, so if the recommendation is more than that for any reason, there is some precedence for how we handle that.
Yep.
We'll go through all that at the time of the presentation.
Can I ask a quick question? So with all that happening, does that mean that you can open it up now or not? Do we have to do those?
No, it's independent. That's an
It'll be
exercise
open.
outside of the development contract.
Okay.
So this action is just what Pulte is responsible through the development contract. It is a city consideration for what to do with the rest of it.
Okay.
Do we have any reason to suspect this will be completed more timely than the boardwalk was?
I suspect it is. I mean, we've had conversations with the developer. They're planning to do the work. So my expectation is we will apply pressure to have it be done now that the conditions met. So the expectation is that it's in place this fall.
Remember last year we had expectations we would have a shade structure in place by last fall from a different developer. So stay on your toes. I know you will.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, do we have some comments?
Yes, sir. So we have 5 comment cards. So again, limit your remarks to 3 to 5 minutes. Please come up, address the council at the dais, and state your name and address for the record.
I don't think we made a motion on 6I, did we?
We don't, we got a list.
There's just an
There's still
update.
discussion.
Okay.
We're still
Comments. So Jason Bartels, please come up to the microphone. State your name and address for the record.
From the cheap seat.
From the cheap seats. Yeah. Better than parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Good evening. Mayor and council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm sorry, Jason Bartels, 19795 Hunters Ridge. You all know I oftentimes, actually always, come here and speak in support of Hunters Ridge. This time I'll throw you a curve and not speak against the cul-de-sac opening. We know it's a function of the building permits and the math. So we'd love to keep our cul-de-sac, but we understand it's going by the wayside. I would like, however, to express my gratitude. The threshold was originally created. We've been able to enjoy our cul-de-sac for as long as we have. So thank you for those of you that were semi-responsible for that or wholly responsible for that. We appreciate it. To that end, even if we can't keep the cul-de-sac, we'd obviously like to keep the positives that the cul-de-sac has provided, especially as they relate to traffic speed and safety. Many long-term Hunters Ridge residents go for walks on that street. And as Bellwether has grown, foot traffic has increased with our neighbors to the east, venturing out, enjoying the walk down Hunters Ridge. The mix of increased walkers and increased vehicles is cause for concern. Hopefully the driving speeds can be controlled to keep everyone safe. Regarding the going forward study for the Hunters Ridge improvement alternatives, as mentioned in the agenda and was just now mentioned, there are also points of consideration here. As I've shared with this council previously, there was and continues to be construction equipment on Hunters Ridge. Work teams frequently still look for opportunities to cut through. They know they're not supposed to, but they still try, still come up and down the road with heavy equipment. The documented damage done by the water and sewer excavating team with steel track equipment has previously been shared with council. And as again previously stated, I don't think that that section of Hunters Ridge has ever had an overlay since it was built. So it's kind of past due for that. When the potential improvement study and discussion takes place, which I believe it is, basis what I heard, we'd like to be sure those factors are considered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Kim Svoboda, please come to the microphone. State your name and address for the record.
Hi, Kim Svoboda, 19570, 102nd. Okay, I want to thank that gentleman. I did look online, and it appears that there's 6 homes, the older homes on Hunters Ridge that are there. One that sold last month and one that's for sale now. So there's 4 other long-term residents, and I can feel for them, not wanting to have us invade on it, but I appreciate their willingness to let it happen. One thing, Bellwether has a self-imposed 20 miles per hour speed limit. I'd be loved to see it continue on to Hunters Ridge for them. Let's keep it low for them. I know it's not city imposed and no one can enforce it, but we've got our own little signs that say 20 miles per hour. I think that would be great to give them that consideration. I was glad to hear that we are at the threshold. I thought we were at 99%, so I was prepared to talk about the other, how we would get to the next 1%, but it doesn't sound like I need to get to that. I walk the neighborhood every day. I live in that area, so I know what houses and how many just need sod. Pulte has been amazing the last week and a half. I think they've sodded over 12 homes and roofed 4. They've really been putting on the pressure, so I'm hoping we can keep that pressure going for the 4 things that were outlined that they need to do, removing bulbs, extending curbs, extending driveways, and that. I'd love it if we could give a deadline, a date by, since we are at that point. We started this in June or July, asking for these things to start happening so that when we hit this point, it would open. I'd like to see us get these done sooner since we are at that point now, and it should be opening, not now discussing how do we get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Arlen Leopold, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Arlen Leopold, 9950 Jack Pine Lane, also on Bellwether. And I don't even know, so I'm just going to wing it here. I really want to emphasize support for the Hunter's Ridge access there, being that we're in a 55-plus community, and that access to Hunter's Ridge is going to cut off a lot of time for emergency vehicles and fire, especially for us in the southern and western part of Bellwether. So we really need that access, because when we get to our age, minutes are important. So we're there. And I also like to add, I'm strongly opposed to the springs.
We're talking about
Yeah.
Hunter's Ridge only, sir.
Yeah. I'm just going to get it. I'm a resident there, and I oppose that development. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. John McCoy, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
John McCoy, 9974 Jack Pine Lane, and I just want to express that I'm in support of Hunter's Ridge being open.
Tim Mans, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Jay, Council, Mayor. I'm 9982 Jack Pine Lane, and of course I'm in favor of opening up Hunter's Ridge. And just to let you know, I talked to the superintendent from Pulte. He said whatever signs he needs to make to keep the construction traffic out of there while they remain the rest of the building, he'll do whatever it takes. So that's it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then last, Pam Jameson Lenz.
Hi, Pam Jameson Lenz, Bellwether. If Hunter's Ridge was opened, the emergency vehicles can make it through without the need of opening up 102nd or Elm. And Cedar, I know this is separate from it, but Cedar could work in place of Elm. It's parallel with 101, so just let us know.
Thank you.
That completes all the comment cards, Mr. Mayor.
I'm not raising my hand. So
Close the door and then.
that don't work. I'm good.
Sure. And scoot over a little.
I can go get my sunglasses.
Good. Okay, any further discussion on item 6? I think we got a good update.
I'm good. Again, the folks on Hunters and such, it's nice to see we did take it this long, and there was a contract made at 80%, and we're there, and the expediting and such is great. I love the fact about the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. While I have done my drive-arounds and stuff, I've had people pass me when I'm doing 20 miles an hour in Hunter's Ridge, and then they pull into their driveways. So you might want to check on your folks. They don't obey their own 20-minute speed or 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. So and then I get yelled at, and that's what I'm doing in the neighborhood. So just a little FYI on something. But otherwise, I'll make a motion
Okay.
Oh, second.
to approve.
All right, and this is pseudo.
Is there anything to approve?
What's that?
Is there anything to approve on this?
Whatever it was.
Six eyes.
Yeah, there really wasn't.
just
It's a notification.
It's an update, yeah. Withdraw the motion.
We don't even need a motion. I'll take it back.
All right. Then we'll move on to planning, which we have one item, 8A, SH8 development, concept planning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, item 8A is a concept plan called SHH Development. This is a conceptual subdivision plan from Dimitri Sechko and Kevin Henn, who are requesting informal feedback on their concept plan. The subject site is 20240 Hackamore Road and 6330 Snyder Road. This is a 9.69 acre site. It is currently guided for existing residential, zoned urban reserve, and located within the fourth stage of the 2040 staging. So contextually, the properties to the north are currently used for single-family residential, guided for existing residential, and also zoned urban reserve. The properties to the east are used for single-family residential, part of the Tavera development. They are guided for low-density residential and zoned plan unit development. To the west is currently used for single-family residential and agricultural, guided for existing residential uses in the 2040 plan and zoned urban reserve. And then to the south is used for single-family residential and is located in Medina. The property is located in the fourth and final stage of the 2040 staging plan for city sewer and water. And this is just an overview of the concept plan. I'm kind of blown up just so we get a feel for what it is that we're discussing, because it's harder to fit it in on the future slides, so I just wanted to have it blown up. So the concept includes 16 single-family lots and 0 outlots. It would retain the existing homes on lots 1 and 8. The minimum lot areas proposed is a quarter of an acre and a minimum width of 80 feet on the narrowest lots. Estimated net density of the development based on what was provided in the concept plan is 2.15 units per acre. And they would use access off of Hackamore Road, Snyder Road, and Valley View Road, which are all existing roads today. I won't go through the entire table here, but this first column here is the conditions proposed by the concept plan. So conditions like the lot area and setbacks. The middle column here is the current zoning requirements, which is the urban reserve zoning district. And the items that are in red show where they don't meet the current zoning requirements. However, with this concept plan, the applicant is proposing rezoning the site to single-family residential 2. And so that's shown in this third column, and the items that are in green show that they can meet those requirements. Just for some, just a note, with this application, staff did identify a couple lots that seem to have some constraints on potential buildability and flexible design for future buyers of the lots. Those are lots 11, 12, and 16, just due to the general geometry of the sites and the restrictions from the setback requirements as well as the wetlands that are present on the site. So those are some items for the applicant to consider as they're potentially moving forward with a formal application in the future. Going into the density, the pre-development density formula is number of units divided by the developable area. So the number of units would be 16, and the developable area is the gross area minus acres of wetland in this case. So that would result in 7.4 acres of developable area. So 16 divided by 7.4 is 2.16 units per acre. The 2040 future land use map identifies this site as existing residential. So density within the existing residential is essentially what's existing today. It doesn't contemplate future subdivision. It is just what is already existing. So In order for these applicants to subdivide their property, we would be looking at a comprehensive plan amendment to change that land use category. The next two categories up from existing residential in terms of density is conservation residential, which allows a density of 2 to 3 units per acre, and low density residential of 3 to 5 units per acre. I just want to note that in the language of the conservation residential land use category, it does include language of to be used sparingly for sites within the 2040 MUSA, where a lower density is desired due to the extent of natural resources. So discussing the natural resources that are present on the site, well, the applicant's narrative suggests that the development goal would be to preserve and respect existing wetland resources and drainage patterns while minimizing unnecessary grading and infrastructure impacts. Looking at the city's natural resource quality ranking map, the wetlands on the site are identified as low-quality wetlands. Low-quality and medium-quality wetlands are some of the most common types of wetlands throughout the city. And based on the concept plan, staff wasn't able to identify any preservation tactics that would be something that we wouldn't see with other developments elsewhere in the city in land use categories that aren't conservation residential. So it seems like the preservation here would be consistent with developments that are found in low density residential or mixed use or so on. So when the council is discussing this application, you may want to consider just providing some feedback on whether the natural resources present on this site, which is low quality wetlands, would warrant the conservation residential land use designation, knowing that is a more common designation of wetlands throughout the city. Going into just some of the more specifics of the site, the two properties today currently contain a number of accessory buildings that seem to be remaining with this subdivision proposal. So one of them being the accessory dwelling unit currently located on the corner of Snyder Road and Valley View Road. The concept plan shows this structure as the principal structure on lot 14. This structure currently has a floor area of 800 square feet, which is allowed for an ADU, but for a principal residential structure, the city code does require a minimum floor area of 1,100 square feet, so that existing structure today would not meet that standard, and the applicant would either need to expand it if this application were to move forward, or request a variance from that standard. The pole barn that exists today is shown as the only structure on lot 6, currently located on the side yard of one of the existing homes today. The footprint of that barn is 1,500 square feet, which is allowed for a 3.5-acre lot that exists today. But with the subdivision, lot 6 would be shrunken down to just about half an acre, which limits accessory structure footprints to 1,250 square feet, or 25% of the rear yard, whichever is less. This barn does not meet that standard because it is 1,500 square feet, so it would have to be removed from the lot or reduced in size if the application were to move forward. Also worth noting that the city code doesn't allow accessory structures to be constructed prior to the principal structure on the lot, except for agricultural buildings that are used in relation to an abutting farm of the same ownership. So that's something that would be identified with this application. This barn wouldn't be able to remain as the only structure on this lot in perpetuity. There would need to be a single-family residence constructed on it. And then lastly, there are 2 sheds today that are located in the concept plan on lot 9. The structures appear to predate the city's accessory structure setback requirements and are considered legal, non-conforming structures. However, if the properties were rezoned and subdivided, that would trigger the need for them to meet the current city requirements for setbacks. And in the RSF2 district, it does not allow accessory buildings to be located in the front yard. And while the applicant isn't showing building paths for future homes on these lots, based on the building setback lines, it appears that both of these sheds would be located in the front yard, and that I guess that shed on the right, which would be the south, appears to be within that minimum side yard setback area. So those would need to be relocated elsewhere on the site to meet those setback standards. And also, in the RSF2 district, having more than one accessory structure requires city council approval of a conditional use permit. So that's something that the applicant would need to keep in mind if they were intending to keep both of those sheds moving forward. As stated earlier, all 16 lots would rely on existing roadways for access, and development of these roads would likely require the roadways to be upgraded to the Southeast District street standards, which are shown on the right here. So Hackamore Road is designated as a collector street, which is that top graphic, and then Snyder Road and Valley View Road are identified as local streets, so that would be the bottom graphic, so they'd be constructed to those standards. The 2040 Parks and Trails plan shows a proposed on-road trail along Hackamore Road and Snyder Road. This easement would be located within the right-of-way, and if the applicant moved forward with a formal plat, these trail plans would be factored into the right-of-way dedication requirements for that formal plat application. The applicant did not provide a landscaping plan with this concept, which is common for most concept plans, but a formal application would require compliance with the landscaping standards of section 1060.070, as well as any landscaping standards that are identified in the Southeast District. Also worth considering is the buffer yard ordinance that the city also has for development. So going back to the surrounding properties, the site is surrounded by properties that are currently zoned urban reserve to the west and the north. And for an RSF2 district, buffer yard class A is required if it abuts urban reserve properties. However, buffer yard class A requirements may be satisfied if they are separated by a local street, which it is through Snyder and Valley View Road. So a buffer yard would not be required along those sides of the property. And then to the east is a property that is zoned planned unit development with an underlying zoning district of single-family residential 3. And the city code does not require buffer yards for RSF2 developments abutting RSF3 properties. So the plan shows a utility connection to sanitary sewer and water systems located within Tavera. So if the development were to proceed, we would require, as a city, additional details regarding these connection points, pipe sizing, routing, easements, and related infrastructure requirements, and those would be evaluated by the city engineer. It's worth noting that sanitary sewer service in the Southeast District is provided by an L80 lift station that is located near Cook Lake. Capacity of this station is limited by the Met Council. So currently the capacity of that station is enough to service the anticipated density of the properties that are currently located within stage 1 of the 2040 staging plan. And connecting more properties that aren't in stage 1 to that system may reduce future service availability for properties that are already located in stage 1. So circling back on a point made earlier, this property is located in stage 4, so connecting this to these services may have that impact to future capacity within properties that are currently in stage 1. So in your discussion, you may want to provide some feedback on any supports for relocating the subject property into stage 1 with the consideration that doing so may reduce future service availability for other properties already located in stage 1. If council supports this concept, the next steps for the applicant would be going through the infrastructure feasibility study, and then would be an application for preliminary plat, a comprehensive plan amendment to change the land use designation or guidance from existing residential to conservation residential, as well as relocating this property from stage 4 to stage 1, rezoning the property from urban reserve to single-family residential 2, and any variances that may be necessary. And then if those were approved, then they would apply for a final plat. So, a summary page for discussion topics, and this isn't an exhaustive list ideas to get some thoughts flowing would be discussing whether the natural resources present warrant that conservation residential land use designation, as well as any support for relocating the property into stage 1 of the 2040 staging plan. At this point, staff recommends that the City Council review and discuss the concept plan and provide the applicant with your informal comments. And just disclaiming any opinions or comments provided by the applicant by City Council are considered advisory only and shall not constitute a binding decision to the board.
Thank you. Any questions for Dwight with all that?
Well done.
I have comments.
Take a drink of water.
I don't have questions.
Good. So first, I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. It's great to see you here. So I'm going to start with the process. I don't like concept reviews. I don't think we should do them. We're reacting to a sketch, no elevations, no stormwater plan, no landscaping plans, no feasibility study. And whatever we say tonight gets carried forward as though it meant something despite our warnings and disclaimers to the contrary. It's advisory, but no one really treats it that way. Council should not be forming positions or giving advice on a plat or variances with no application and no hearing in front of us. My view is simple. Put a plan together, follow the city code, follow the rules, and you'll be fine. What makes me uneasy is being asked to change the rules first and then design to them second. We have rules, follow them. On the two questions that staff put to us, I'll be direct. Staging, I'm not supportive. Conservation, residential, I'm not supportive. Beyond those, the code list isn't even close to resolved. 3 lots with roughly 2,000 square feet of buildable area against an 1,100 square foot minimum home, an ADU drawn as a principal dwelling, and an oversized pole barn on a lot with no house. Sheds in a front yard, 16 lots fronting roads that need full reconstruction, and an expired wetland delineation. That's before the fact that these parcels have already used their development rights. So my advice is work it through with staff and come back with an application that stands on its own. And to be clear, nothing I've said tonight should be read as a commitment on anything that comes back to us. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? I think there's a couple points that you made. I didn't even get as far down that list. I think it's hard for me to get past the phasing issue there and sewer capacity and then the density issue.
So I won't be here when this comes back, if it comes back, so take my comments with many grains of salt. The idea behind conservation residential is you're trying to preserve some natural features. I wouldn't see the wetlands as being natural features worthy of that in this case. If they do something else, maybe it becomes like a forest area in the back and there's additional landscaping, maybe there's some grounds there. When it comes to the staging, later we're going to be talking about our civic campus, where there's a desire to see a minimal amount of resident property tax impact. And so there's an argument we should be thinking about. We have a number of parcels in phase 1 that show no indication of developing soon. And there are a number of parcels that are in later stages where we have seen some interest in development. So it may be worth our time to spend a work session game planning how we would want staging to be refined, at minimum when we come into the next comp planning cycle, possibly sooner, to prioritize the parcels that have a good chance of actually hosting a development and providing property tax relief to residents in the near term, versus parcels that have been staged in phase 1 but have not really had any progress.
Fair point. I would maybe add a caveat to that, that it's not so much an issue with a smaller scale development like this, but if you're looking at a bigger phase one parcel that maybe hasn't developed, if it's, you know, primarily residential, single family homes or, you know, similar, that's not necessarily a net tax benefit when you're, you know, by the time it comes onto the tax roll and cost of serving the community, because they increase residencies, so.
Depending which parcel.
Yeah. Something just in mind as well, but, yeah, so any other thoughts on particularly the first two things we have?
Both Councilmember Lanterman and Nichols spoke well. I appreciate the 2.1 units per acre number. Significant amount of cleanup related to all the accessory buildings and such. Looking at a snapshot of their concept and such, it doesn't look like any of them would be able to stay anyhow, but it's one of those things that I've always said I'd rather see less units per acre than the 3 to 5. This is 2.1. It's great, but I see a whole bunch of hurdles getting beyond, even though it's low quality wetlands. You've got the Rush Creek Watershed District jumping in. You've got a whole bunch of people jumping in here. And
it's not that we don't like 2.1, it's that we only can do that in very limited circumstances.
Yep. So, and then the last thing too, what are their thoughts and plans about the event center across the street, telling your folks if it does go through, what's happening across the street happens a couple of weekends out of the year. Trail Dusters is a frequent visiting place for myself and my wife and our horses. So
yeah, I mean, I think those are some significant hurdles, but certainly if something were to try to go forward, I think would have to try to be in that 3 to 5 range, ideally as close to 3 as possible. So it's at the lowest of the regular density, but I don't know how we get past the
phasing.
The phasing is the big concern. Yep.
Would council be interested in a more holistic phasing discussion with the eye toward increasing our potential for commercial and industrial development versus things that are not developing now?
I'm not opposed to it. I'm trying to think when that would really fit in schedule-wise, as well as that is going to be something that's done with the 2050 plan. Obviously, that's not super, quick, but it's obviously going to be a huge part of the comprehensive plan.
I'd be interested in that.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I will say that is one of the biggest items staff has identified for the 2050 comp plan, is reevaluating our phasing plan, specifically with the fact that we have opened up capacity in our northeast district and we have that constraint in the southeast district. And so things might, I agree it needs to be reevaluated, and that is something that we would holistically do with the 2050 comp plan, which we kick off beginning of next year.
Gotcha. So maybe we can try to prioritize that part of it at the beginning of the comp plan process. But other than that, I don't know that there's a way to really review that quicker.
I think that with the present progress of preparation for the comp plan, we've got Mary Bugel's work with Maxfield Research coming back to council here soon, which will inform you about some of the commercial industrial constraints and ideas for opportunities to unpack that. I think that would nest well to continue with it within the comp plan planning. Right now, if you look at the council schedule, your dance card's pretty full. And so I guess the question would be, do you want to shoehorn this in as a priority, or are you comfortable with keeping it as part of the work plan as it's currently scheduled?
I would say no to the shoehorn. We have other things to do.
Anything else in this item? Okay. We'll move on to...
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, we did have one comment card.
Sure.
And so, Ms. Laura Horn.
Okay. On to unfinished business, number 9, which is continuing the public hearing. Process-wise here, we need to continue open it right off the bat here, or?
So if I could make a comment, Mayor, and then I'll defer to Mr. Thames, but there's a couple of constraints that I want council to be aware of before you take action. So one, the Planning Commission considered the CIP on August 18th and tabled its comprehensive plan consistency review until September 3rd in order to allow additional training and further considerations. Because that review remains pending, staff would recommend that council open and then continue the public hearing. In the staff report, it says to September 10th. Our subject matter experts on bonding are not available on September 10th, and so the recommendation would be to September 24th. And take no action on resolution number 2026-58 at this time. And then I defer to Mr. Thames for any further comment.
Mayor and Council, that's well stated. I think that plan makes sense. The protocol as far as noticing would be to open the public hearing and simply adjourn or continue the matter to that date certain.
Make a motion to do so?
Right.
I'll make that motion.
Hold on.
Yeah, we want to list the specific date, time, and location of, so we're doing the 24th.
Yeah, and again, the 24th is recommended because if we were to go with the 10th, our subject matter experts on bonding are not all available for that day, and I think that would be problematic for the discussion.
But they're right here.
But we don't have the other stuff. Okay, I appreciate that. Makes sense to me. That would be my.
I'll make that motion.
First I will open the public
You got me
hearing.
all excited here. Let me make a motion.
I will go ahead and open the public hearing, and then now I will take a motion if someone would like to.
Close the public hearing, I'll make that motion.
Continue.
You stole my motion.
Now, I'm gonna give this to Mark.
Oh, come on.
You didn't,
He gets it all the
I don't think
time.
you wanna do what you said
I
you
think
did.
he's your favorite. Anyhow. Go ahead, Mark.
Do you wanna take your back at it?
I'll make that motion again.
Okay, just to clarify, is the motion to continue the public hearing till September 24th as suggested by staff?
And what if I make a motion to continue it until the 10th?
I would say we'd have to just do this again and have to notice it again, and it would be a kind of a waste of time and money.
I'll make a motion to do that. I'll make a motion to continue it to the 10th.
Okay.
No, the 24th. That's okay.
Okay. We have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion?
So I'll voice my intent to vote against this motion because I think we have lots of people here who came prepared to speak, wanting to share their thoughts. And if by chance there will be value in hearing that, there may be actions we direct staff to take in response to the questions and comments that we receive that we're just deferring now until late September. So I would prefer to hear their thoughts and begin the wheels of motion and responding to what we can get out tonight, with the knowledge that people don't have to speak if they don't want to. They can reserve their chance. And there's always public hearing to hear from them. There's always open forum to hear from them on other meetings as well. So my vote would be we go ahead and allow the process to carry forward and let people speak if they would like to.
Okay.
Mayor and Council, I have 2 comment cards. Only 2.
We have a pending motion, though.
Important to note that if they do speak, they're not going to have the benefit of the briefing that happens, and then they're not allowed to speak at the hearing later as they receive more information.
Same issue. Like I would have liked that already.
Would have liked that last week.
Yeah.
But they can speak at open forum, correct?
They could speak at open forum.
It doesn't
And
stop
I mean,
them from
it's not
speaking
on.
again or sending an email or calling.
Well, they
But they
couldn't
can't
speak at
speak up.
open forum on the night of the hearing because they can't speak on they have to speak on an item that's not on the agenda.
What if council voted to allow them to?
We'd be able to.
I'm not sure what we're trying to do here. What are you
We're
trying
trying to get people the chance to speak if they would like.
At the 10th?
Right now,
Now, but without preventing them from sharing something in the
on the
future,
24th.
if they so chose.
Pending motion.
It wouldn't be, it wouldn't be through a public hearing. It couldn't be.
I think our attorney might have some input, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, what the mayor stated just most recently there is accurate. The public hearing is one continuous public hearing. You're not taking redundant testimony.
So anyone that would speak tonight and then again at a continuing hearing would not be allowed to speak during the public hearing. You're talking about a separation of that via the open forum protocol, which, as Jay mentioned, doesn't permit the comments on the items on the agenda for that evening. So because the council has referred this for the planning commission of findings, and there's been value assigned to that, then I think it's important that all speakers have the benefit of the same information. And that is the reason for staff's recommendation to consolidate that into one full public hearing after all that information is available.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? What if there is someone who has been coming to each of the meetings and has wanted to speak and can't make the 24th?
They can provide written comments.
Or reach out directly to council.
In fact, we have someone who council received written comments who wasn't able to attend this evening that was in favor of the project.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't hear you. What did you say?
Pretty much the same thing.
Okay,
Reach
okay.
out directly to staff,
Okay.
council.
Thank you.
Yeah, can't make any meeting. So we do have the motion and the second. Any other discussion on it? Wait, I will call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Michelle was.
I was a yes.
4-1, so that passes. So it will be continued to the 27th, or to the
24th.
24th of September.
27th is fine, too.
Mayor,
Is like a Saturday, so that might be
Mayor, can we
Further
please state the date, time, and location, please?
Yes, we continued to September 24th at the 7 o'clock meeting at Corcoran City Hall.
Thank you.
We'll give people a couple minutes. If you want
Yeah,
to leave,
can we give them a few minutes?
Hard feelings. More than welcome to stay, but certainly don't need to. If you don't want to.
You want to take a quick break?
Yeah, we'll recess for 5 minutes here. Crack informational session on that. Matt?
So Mr. Mayor, Matt's working his screen here quick. So if you remember back from the Wizard of Oz, pay no attention to the man behind the screen. He'll have it. Now it's good. Okay. You're live. Okay. All right.
Can I ask, I'm sorry, can I ask a really quick question? Oh, sorry, are we going to open?
We are back home. Go
Okay,
ahead.
perfect, okay. Sorry, I'm just pondering something from our break. So, when we talked about continuing the public hearing, I'm wondering if I can change my vote to a nay. Not that it matters, but I feel like we still could have had a conversation, or people could have commented, because it was a continuation of the open public hearing.
Unfortunately, Councilor Fritz, the vote is closed, so I understand you can offer your explanation for the record.
Yeah, that might be the best option.
I think.
Just
Okay.
have that on, the record and in the minutes that with more thought, what you would have changed your vote to.
Yes, had I completely, I think I misunderstood that we couldn't have people publicly comment during that open, or during the public hearing when it was open, before we closed it, because we continued it. So people still could have commented
But only
tonight,
that.
and then they could have commented
No.
at the next.
For the public hearing.
So additional people could have though. So people
Yes.
that couldn't have made that meeting still could have commented tonight and then not made the 24th.
Correct. I
Okay.
think it would have been.
So I misunderstood. Had I
Gotcha.
understood that, I would have voted no.
I will say somebody came up to me and said that they felt it was unfair that we would defer the date for our bond council when there could be residents who would have the same kind of
Well, I don't
restrained
know if they're on
availability.
that, but we need bond counsel there.
That may be true, but we should have given people a chance to speak today if they couldn't speak.
I would have liked them to
another
speak
day.
last meeting, but that's not how the vote went. And then if we continue it, in my opinion, leads to a lot of procedural and extra work on staff's part for tracking who spoke. And guarantee you, if there's people that are trying to do a reverse referendum, it can't start until after that. So if it started before that, any names they got would be struck down, and it would just be a logistical nightmare, in my opinion. So
I think that's a separate thing though, the reverse referendum from public comment during an open
It is.
public hearing.
But it's tied, I mean, because it can't start till after
It'd be nice if somebody could let the bond folks share the information, so then people can digest that while they're talking for the public hearing and such. There's a lot of information we're missing, and to sit here and speculate, and if this, if that, it has been pushed till the 24th of September, and we need to live with that. And
We do.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move on, please.
Fair enough. Okay. We good?
Ready for me?
All righty, go for it.
Okay, hello, council members and mayor. I'm Matt Salmeyer, the finance director. And I'd like to just start with some scheduling information. So today I'm going to go through the preliminary 2027 budget numbers.
We lost video. Hold on one sec.
I know okay.
Don't look at his password. Councilmember Landgren's over there like, oh, I saw that.
Did you? Oh. Okay, I'll try to toggle here so it doesn't go away, even though I'm not talking to this quite yet. So I want to start with our little bit of calendar information. So we're going over the preliminary 2027 budget numbers tonight. And then on September 10th, we'll set the not to exceed budget. From there, I'll need to pull together the draft publication for the fall newsletter, and our preliminary budget is due to Hennepin County by the end of September. So that's part of why we have to get those things done in that time frame. And then in October, we'll have, similar to last year, department heads go over the details of their budget. And then ultimately in December, we'll need to adopt the final budget levies and fees. So today is really just a first glance and an opportunity for you to ask questions. So right now, I'm going to zoom in on this, but I'd like to pull up our debt service levy requirements. The requirements for 2027, I'll zoom in a little bit here. So we do not have any new debt going on to be paid in 27. So from 26 to 27, there's only a $16,000 increase in the tax levy requirement for our debt. So that I'd say is a good to have. If we do pursue a new building, the soonest that will have an impact is 2028. So this helps with the overall levy because we won't have to charge taxpayers for any new debt in 2027. So I'd like to go through, any questions on that? So I'd like to go through the high-level revenue and expense budget for the general fund and start with some high-level data points. The proposed general property tax levy is a 15.74% increase. Once you factor in the tax we need to collect for our bonds, that will drop to 13.5%.
Sorry, excuse me, can you tell me which page you are on?
Right now, I'm just looking at this. I'm talking to the 15.73% that is notated here.
Right, which document in our packet is that one? Is what I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, it should be the 2027 budget memo for preliminary budget workshop.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
There was one typo because actually our fire services contract changed recently, and it's actually a little bit less than the estimate, so I just updated that number today to be correct. So.
No, that's all I need. I can't see the screen, so I like to pull it up on my iPad so I can read along with you.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
I would also just like to mention that the current budget does achieve a flat tax rate of 44.1, as was discussed in our July 9th budget working session. So as we move down to the revenue changes, we have, just down here a little bit, we have 13.6 million budgeted, which includes the general property tax levy and revenue for permits and other grants. So for the year-over-year changes, our general property tax is going up 1.4 million. The other changes we're seeing is in towards zero death grants, which is going down due to a methodology change. And that's also going to be seen on the expense side. So as that it's about going down about 150,000. I believe there was some pass-through money in that nature. The methodology changed. So we're going to be getting a little bit less. We're going to be getting less money. We'll be spending less money. So the impact is on both sides, the revenue and expense in the budget. And then as far as other revenue pieces, other revenues are down around $50,000, and that's really just a result of refining some revenue budget pieces. You can see I have state grant aid listed here, really just refining those numbers to be more in line with 3-4 year averages of what we've been seeing. So
I don't know if you'll know this off the top of your head, or maybe it hasn't been defined yet. Do we have an estimate for what interest income will be for revenue?
Yeah, I do have that information. I can pull that up.
A lot better than last year.
I know, it's been trending in a good direction.
So I believe it's $75,000, where it was $45,000 budgeted last year.
Aren't we already exceeding that this year? I thought we had
73.
Year before was.
Yeah, so it was 73,000 in 2025. I think we, typically with this line item, I try to be a little bit conservative in case something were to happen with interest rates. We do have a good amount of our holdings for Corcoran are not in CDs or treasuries where the interest rate might not change over an extended period of time. So typically for that revenue piece, in my history of finance, it's been something to be conservative with. But yes, I do think it will probably, hopefully, come in a bit higher than that.
Do you happen to know what it's been year to date this year?
I'm trying to think where I could pull that up really quickly.
I think one of the quarterly updates had it. I remember it being in the hundreds of thousands, but maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
I'll look up the last quarterly update if you want to keep going.
Okay.
Thank you.
On the expense side, we also have 13.6 million, 1.2 million higher year over year. We'll go into the details, but I'd like to give you the quick glimpse just so that you know what are the 3 or 4 bullet points of what's really driving this budget. The first thing is what's causing the increase is going to be personnel costs, and industry standards estimate the average personnel costs for a city between 55 and 80% of expenses. Our personnel costs are roughly 60%. We also have increases in fire service costs, increases in insurance costs, and spending more on paved streets that we've added into this budget. And then those increases are a little bit offset by the TZD grant, which has a revenue and an expense component. That expense component is coming down. So those are your main drivers. Right, and after that, I'd like to go through all the details. I'm fortunate enough to have other department heads and city staff here that can help answer the specifics of some of their specific budget components. And if you have questions as we go, please do not hesitate to ask them. So starting with administration, it's a $30,000-ish increase over 2026. The main driver for that, labor costs, COLA increases, step increases, employee paid medical insurance is a little bit lower there. What's happening, it's one of our employees just selected a cheaper medical plan, so we assume whatever people have selected most recently is what we budget for in the future. So workers' comp insurance, so we changed our methodology for workers' compensation this year. Last year, when ABGO was working on the budget with everybody, they assumed sort of a percent per person for workers' comp insurance. We feel like a more realistic number is to look at a 3-year average. Workers' comp is pretty hard to predict because it's hard to determine who's going to get injured, when are they going to get injured, what's going to draw a need for that. So using the 3-year average, it actually saved us a little bit of money overall in our budget. But you're going to see some ups and downs just because of that methodology change in each of the departments. Software is a little bit higher for Unicode annual maintenance and Laserfiche. And then dues and memberships are a little bit lower. There's some shifts between departments. So in this case, the $11,000 for the League of Minnesota Cities membership is moving to central services. But again, the big driver there is in your personnel costs. Moving down to building inspection, again, the main driver is your labor costs, COLA and step and medical cost increases. Software costs are just a little bit higher to support several systems, including ArcGIS, Unicode, and Laserfiche. Vehicle repairs and maintenance, a little bit higher, $2,500. It was previously tracked outside the department in Public Works, so just a bit of a line item shift there. Some other very, very small increase variances, and then again the workers' compensation adjustment. So again, not a lot of things going on, I'd say, in building inspection. It's just mainly the personnel cost increases. Moving down to central services, so that's about $50,000 higher than 2026. The big driver there is the insurance costs. So this is due to rising insurance rates, some recently acquired automobiles, but I'd say probably a big piece is property. So we have the Heritage Park facility that needs to be insured. That I believe was not something that was included in this 26 budget as the facility was still being constructed. The other piece was a little bit of savings on dues and memberships. Again, some shifting between departments for Elm Creek watershed fee moving to engineering, offset by that League of Minnesota Cities membership coming in. And there's just some other small decreases for supplies and repairs and maintenance. So again, the main driver there is your insurance costs. City administrator, kind of the same story we've been telling, driven by labor costs. There's just some other very small increase in dues and memberships, not a whole lot of activity there. Communication, that's a $11,000 increase, so labor costs are higher, as we mentioned, for the standard COLA, step, and medical. Software costs are a little bit higher. This is for remediation accessibility documents software. I believe that's to help with ADA compliance. And then some other small increases for newsletter postage and training materials. Communication is, other communications lower. The 2026 budget was a little bit higher for our website updates, so not as much to spend in 26. Elections are down, and that has to do with the timing of the election cycle. So we anticipate lower costs in 27 compared with 26, but some costs for a potential special election are budgeted in there. Okay, engineering, $228,000 increase. That's labor costs. This does include a placeholder for a new assistant city engineer anticipated in the Public Works reorganization study. So I believe there's some study that's going to be done, and that will help determine the best organizational structure for the engineering team. And then professional services, $20,000 higher. That's for the local surface water management plan. Dues and memberships are higher. That's the Elm Creek watershed fee. So again, that's kind of a department shift from central services. And then the other accounts are small changes, and the workers' comp switch is also in there. Any questions yet? Moving down to finance, we have a $165,000 increase. Labor is $209,000 higher. So we did include a new accounting clerk to support payroll and accounts receivable. This is really to help free up more support on the escrow process. So as we're continuing to grow, our escrow process has some issues that need to be ironed out. And so what we feel like a strategic plan would be to bring someone on that can help support our accountant with some work, to give us, our accountants, more capacity for them to help support the escrow. Go ahead.
Should we consider fee changes to account for the cost of managing the escrow process?
So I've asked that question before. My understanding, I'll put Mr. Thanes on the spot, is that we are not able to charge finance fees for our escrow process. We're only allowed to charge for city planner, like Stantec time, engineering time, and those sorts of costs. I don't know if Mr. Thanes would be able to know.
So there's two components to a planning application. There's the fee, which is supposed to cover overhead and administrative costs, and then we have the escrow, which is the direct cost of planning and engineering review. So I wonder if it's time to reevaluate our fee if Thanes agrees. I think administrative costs, but that was just one thought.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I think actually they're both right. You're not able to charge for the management of the funds themselves or anything like that, but there are administrative components for it that may allow you to recover some of that as far as the intake and some of the other administrative tasks that would be done. But the actual, to set up the fees related to the account, and things like that, no, we wouldn't be able to do that.
And Annalise point though, maybe we should take a look at that. other
Right.
stuff.
We would want to distinguish the two, but that may be possible, yes.
Yep. Thanks for looking into it.
The other component in the labor piece here is that my position was budgeted for a half year in 2026, and in 2027, we're budgeting that for a full year. There is some offsetting savings in professional services to have less support from ABDO. We also have a promotion for our accountant to add that escrow support. It's not very expensive in my opinion to get his support. I think he's got great attention to detail and would be fantastic to have pulled in on that escrow process. I think I don't want to go down the rabbit hole here and get into a broader escrow discussion, but we need some escrow support.
No, I agree.
And then just other small adjustments. Fire, so we have a pretty firm number here. This is a little bit less than we estimated. I think we estimated about a 17 or 18% increase because that's what we saw last year. These are numbers that we received back from Rogers, Loretto, and Hanover, and that's a year-over-year increase of $123,000 for our fire services.
Small tweak, Rogers, West Suburban.
Not Loretto, West Suburban?
Rogers, oh, I said Hanover.
No, Loretto is not Loretto.
It's West Suburban now.
Suburban. My apologies. Moving on to highways, streets, and roadways, we have a $54,000 increase for 2026. That's to help with ice and snow removal supplies, an increased cost of the delivery of brine, edges, and grit. We also have motor, fuel, and operating supplies costing a little bit higher for inflation and fuel. Workers' comp, as I mentioned before, we kind of readjusted the methodology for how we calculate that. And then some miscellaneous expenses a little bit higher to help pay for garbage and recycling costs at cleanup day. Moving down to information technology, we have a $109,000 decrease. So repairs and maintenance supplies are $60,000 lower in 2027. So we are anticipating lower IT repair costs. I think some of this does have to do with the potential of a new building. You have a new building, potentially, hopefully everything's new in it. You wouldn't be spending as much on repairs and maintenance of your IT infrastructure. But the thought amongst Alicia when we went through this was that there would be lower IT repair costs in 2027. And then lower expenses for professional services for our CIT managed service contract. That is in part due to bringing on an IT, I forget Bryce's exact title, IT technician. And then just other small adjustments in software and training supplies. And labor costs, again, this is kind of one of those unique departments where the labor costs are a little bit lower because of the actual medical plan selected versus the assumed plan or estimated budgeted plan used in 26. For parks, we have a $21,000 increase. That is largely due to cleaning services for the new Heritage Park facility, water and sewer. That's also a little bit higher in this department to include irrigation costs that are needed at the new Heritage Park facility. So main drivers here are some of the support needed for the Heritage Park facility. And then labor costs are a little bit higher and workers' comp is a little bit lower. Moving down to police, so the labor costs are $425,000 higher. That includes a police officer and part-time community service officer, which were hired in 26 but not funded until 27, as well as the COLA, step increases, layering in the longevity and education pay, and then medical costs. So there.
Sorry, Matt, the headline there said 284,000 increase, but the labor costs are only up 425. Can you reconcile that for us?
Yes, so there is a big decrease in the grants disbursement line. That's that TZD line. So even though labor's went up 425, the expenses related to TZD are going down 150. So that's a big decrease on the expense side. So that's why you're not seeing the full breadth of that 425 in the department overall.
Is that persistent year to year, or are we going to see that reverse in 28?
I don't believe it's going to reverse in 28.
So philosophically, they changed the TZD process and distribution, and so we have been hosting the TZD grant for multiple cities. They're no longer allowing that to happen, and so now we're only facilitating our own grant requirements. That's why that fluctuation happened this year, so it should be consistent going forward.
Okay.
Either way, it's an offset with expenses, revenues. Right.
So those are the two major increases and decreases within police. There's just a few other small changes. Motor fuels are a little bit higher to accost for increasing fuel costs, inflation. Radio units are a little bit higher to help support additional squad cars. And then, again, workers' comp, the adjustment I've mentioned several times, is a little bit lower based on that methodology change. So, again, the two big pieces, labor going up, but grant disbursement going down. I can't remember the exact account line, but it would probably be like grant expense or something like that. It's going down by 150,000.
$33,668 as of June 30th is the interest accumulated this year.
Okay.
Police administration, $5,500 increase. Labor costs are higher, similar to other departments. Staff COLA increases medical costs, and then the workers' comp is lower just based on the methodology change of using the 3-year average. Paved streets, so this is one of those other main bullet points. I call that at the beginning. So we have a $241,000 increase, and that is to help cost increases and plans to continue paving streets. I think when we have the individual department budget presentations, just from talking to Kevin, he could probably say it better than I can, but as we're continuing to work on those paved street projects, it's planned in a way that if we have a certain amount of money, then we can do a project. You know, for example, there might be a $250,000 project. If we have a big enough budget, we can go and tackle that project. So this gives us more working room to go and tackle those projects as we continue to prioritize paved streets for the city.
Could I ask about that?
Certainly.
So paved streets, it's up $241,000, which is about 64%, correct? So it's actually the largest percentage increase in the entire budget, and the justification in the memo is only one sentence, and it says that management anticipates some cost increases and plans to continue paving streets. Now, in 2025, we budgeted $350,000 for paving contracts, and we only spent $98,981. So it's only 28% of that. So I guess what I would ask is that we hold this line item at $350,000 until we see the 2027 paving list. And I think that that'll result in a savings, at least temporarily, of $236,000.
That's a good point. I looked at some of those numbers and talked to Kevin about that, and maybe he wants to share some insights as well. But
material costs are skyrocketing.
I did notice that, hey, why are we budgeting more if we only spent $96,000? And the response, and Kevin, maybe you can say it better than I can, is that when we go to do a paving project, you need to have enough money to do the entirety of the paving project. So maybe there's again, I used $250,000 previously, but maybe there's a project for $300,000, but you don't have $300,000 in the budget, so they decide not to do it. Is that accurate, Kevin?
Well, there's two parts to that number. So when you look at last year's line item where it looks like we didn't spend the money, is what I think you're inferring. That has to do, we did spend the money. It has to do with when the contractor invoices us. So the money was spent on Chisholm, it's not reflected accurately in our accounting. So that's the answer to that question. We did spend that money on Chisholm Trail this last year. We just haven't reconciled that. So to get into this escrow conversation, we should be better allocating those costs when we make the payment instead of reconciling at the end. So it's more real-time reflection of our expenses. So that's one part of it. The other part of some of the increases that are proposed there, we have that free overlay program, which is really our only street CIP in the entire city. We have the reclamite that we're doing on some of the newer streets. It's a small component of that. We really are only operating under this. It's in the, and we can touch base on this in the work session, but there are certain streets that have had deferred maintenance. Earlier today, Hunter's Ridge is one of them. The DIN was correct. There has been no overlay in 30-some years on the road. So we still are working through that list. There's about 4 or 5 years left on that list. When we are looking at it, there are some roads that are really close to needing to go to like a reclaim versus an overlay. So the request, at least in the initial budget, is to try to pick off 2 neighborhoods instead of 1 to try to allow us to hit the ones that are still viable for overlay and extend that life. So we can bring that details to you, Councilmember Lantern, that was expected. But that would be the ask, and so when we go through that, I would recommend keeping it in there and having that conversation, because we are frankly falling behind on street CIPs, especially for the older roads in Corcoran. We have a plan in place for the new ones that we're accepting with the reclamite projects, but we really don't have, we're wrapping up an old CIP, and we don't have a real plan. That's one of the things that we need to bring forward in work sessions, and when we talk about the public works conversation, how do we have to start focusing on those areas. We need some more direction in terms of the street CIP. Obviously, they're big numbers, but again, this increase here is to try to knock out 2 free overlay neighborhoods instead of 1. Why does it go up so much? It's because they go up like $250,000 increments. That's what it takes to pave a neighborhood for an overlay. So if we decided not to do that, we can drop $250,000 off. It just defers that expense, extend their life out, and potentially pushes us into a more expensive maintenance project because it's failed. If we can't close that gap. So more input to come. I would personally recommend that we consider it. Obviously, that's your ultimate choice, but that's kind of the basis for it. It does go in pretty significant chunks. And some of those increases are also just bid material price increases, right? So not in addition to adding another neighborhood, there's still a 10% increase that we anticipate just for that neighborhood at that scope. That's 25,000, 30,000. Right? So it's just those numbers start to really jump fast in some of these maintenance, large maintenance project line items.
Do you have specific neighborhoods in mind for 27?
We do. That's one thing that we wanted to bring forward instead of a la carte and just blanket X amount of dollars. It's a big, that we actually identify a neighborhood. We do have those neighborhoods identified, and we'll present those at the work session. If you want me to share them now, I would be prepared to do that as well.
I think the work session's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
No problem.
What he said. Moving down to planning and zoning, we have a $43,000 increase. Labor is the bulk of that. COLA, staff, medical costs. Professional services are also $8,000 higher to account for inflationary cost increases related to landform planning. As you know, Natalie's going to be out on maternity leave. A little bit of that budget is for if we have some unforeseen projects or if we need additional support while she's out on maternity leave. Software's $3,000 higher for Laserfish, and then just other small increases for repairs and maintenance and on the code enforcement vehicle. Recycling $5,000 higher. Professional services is $11,000 higher. That includes organic costs that were not included in previous years. And then operating supplies is a little bit lower. That was another piece that was moved to a different department, in this case, the engineering department. Recreation, 18,900 increase. The bulk of that again is labor for COLA, STEP, and medical insurance. Workers' comp is a little lower because of our adjustments in methodology there. And then other costs are about 5,000 higher, driven by new supplies for the park building and repair and maintenance associated with the recreation gator that was transferred from the police department. Unpaved streets, $25,000 increase. So we've experienced an increase in the materials necessary for maintenance of our existing streets, such as gravel and other materials. So that's $15,000, and then gravel hauling and dust control costs are expected to increase by $10,000 next year. So that is overall. That's the quick department run through, which has a net of a 9.8% increase in total expenditures for the year.
Any questions? I know it's kind of a lot in first look, but I think that's a pretty good spot for our first crack at the budget. Pretty good. Okay.
Thank you for having a sharp pencil.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Okay, then we'll move on to staff reports. Jay, I know you have one that...
Just the one item, Mr. Mayor, regarding the work session in terms of getting a vote, a motion, and a vote regarding the not to exceed presently, because of the expenditure of dollars, $20,000 out of the long-term fund in order to look at, as directed, the transportation corridor. So I need a motion and a second.
I'll make that motion.
If I could just comment on that. Can we put a condition on that if they successfully develop this, that they pay the money back? If we're shouldering a $20,000 study, I guess I don't see how that benefits residents. I think it benefits them in the short term. And if they are successful in developing that property, I just think that they should pay that money back.
If I could speak to that in terms of benefiting residents, there's frequently a conversation about how commercial and industrial will potentially reduce the pressure on the taxpayer.
Sure.
And as we continue to not solve the problems regarding regional transportation issues in this corridor, we continue to allow pressure to rise on our residents. And so if the city's proactive about solving this, it won't just impact them, it will impact the other properties to the south, to the west, that could potentially unlock a solution that could be viable for the development that's necessary to accomplish that objective.
It just seems that if 20 grand is going to derail their development, maybe they're in the wrong business. I just think that 20 grand, I think that should go back to the, the taxpayers.
I think part of it is that it's not just looking at their site, it's looking at the broader area.
It's here.
So it'd be hard.
Well, what does the 20,000, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah,
What exactly is the 20 grand paying for? I thought it was a study.
So right now it's a not to exceed, and it's not limited to this property. It's looking at the feasibility regarding the corridor. Do you want to provide any additional?
My understanding of the scope was that we basically wanted to reevaluate our transportation plan for our northeast district. So it sounded to me and Kevin, and not to put words in your mouth, feel free to speak. But our understanding was that we're being asked to essentially do a mini update of the northeast district plan to reevaluate road connections that are currently shown. So I don't know, and it sounds like Jay is also hoping for potential other solutions. I'm a little confused. It'd be helpful to clarify the scope, but that was my understanding.
Yeah, this is really helpful. So this isn't just to do a study at that turn lane or that turn signal.
No.
This is a much larger regional.
Yeah, it would include
okay.
that, but
all
we
right,
really
all right.
can't
Forget what I
evaluate
said
that
then.
without
Okay,
evaluating
I'm
the
on
rest of
board.
it. Yeah.
I get it.
Okay.
I have made a motion.
I'll
Oh,
second.
that's what I was doing. Okay, perfect.
Oh, I'm
Motion
sorry, I
second.
didn't even hear the vote.
No, sorry, you did.
Yeah.
Motion second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. One more staff item, I'll let Dwight speak.
Sure, yeah, Mr. Mayor, and Council. So I was, if we can switch over, thank you. I received an inquiry earlier this week from a contractor that was hired by a group of residents on Jack Pine Lane to remove buckthorn in their backyards. And they also noted that there was a bit of buckthorn in the circled area in red that's actually owned properties by the city. So they requested if they would be able to remove that buckthorn at no cost to the city. And in discussing this with the attorney, the public works director, community development director, as a staff, we're comfortable with that, but I think the best path forward would be to accept this as a donation, since this is a service that's being provided at someone else's expense on city-owned property. So for this staff report, we're just looking for direction from the council of if you would accept this donation, we would prepare a resolution accepting that donation at the next council meeting.
Sounds good.
That's awesome.
Great.
Cool.
Go for it.
Cool, thanks.
Nothing further from staff, Mr. Mayor.
Anything from council?
Just one. I spend time checking out our new Heritage Park play area and stuff on both Saturday morning and Sunday morning. Saturday morning, there wasn't one resident there with their kids. There were 17 families there. St. Cloud, Otsego,
I know
Albertville, Delano.
a good friend of mine in Maple Grove has got about a maybe 9 or 10-year-old, and this is
Yep.
his new favorite park.
It's TikTok, everything, it's a buzz. It was disappointed, not one of the families were residents of our city. And then on Sunday, it was kind of the
Logan's
same
been over there a little
thing, just a whole other thing. And I had a parent come up and ask me what I was doing. And I'm like, I'm one of the council members. So, Ryan, if there's a white-haired dude watching families at the park, it's me, man. I just wanted to say, what a great job. What a great design, everything on everybody's part, Parks Commission, the whole folks that did it. It's just neat to see, but residents, get out there. Bellwether folks, you're even welcome to go over there and have some fun too. So
Can we send them a property tax bill for
Yeah.
using the playground? Let them pay for some of this?
And the biggest thing that the parents said was they were able to follow their kids. They could go anywhere in the playground with their kids, which is cool. And as far as tax bill and stuff, that's all related to park dedication fees, so.
I will add that the park building, if the Heritage Park building is utilized by a non-resident, there will be some fee.
There'll be more, yeah.
So while the park doesn't have a fee associated with it, some of the other amenities do, and we hope that the park attracts people who would be interested in.
Similar potentially with this flat
When
down the road.
when do we think that's going to open? When do we think
We
the
are-
landscape is done? When do we think? No date still?
The last I
I'll
heard
shut
from
up.
Stevie was we're trying to get things ready for October.
So this is one thing I want to brag on staff for a second. So this isn't my first rodeo with a building, and while some of them were resistant, I said I want to do a walkthrough before we do the walkthrough, do the pre-walkthrough. And when we did the walkthrough a week and a half ago, we identified some things that we appropriately were concerned about. And that allowed us to put the contractors on notice with our concerns so that they could action it before we get a punch list. And before things were refined and defined, so like there's some floor issues. Before they spend all the money to buff out the floors and make them beautiful, let's make sure that they look like we want them to look before we polish them up and make them look. And there were some other components of that. And once we got through there, staff was very thorough. It was a helpful process, and it became collaborative. It started out kind of confrontational, in which they're like, hey, you're messing with my stuff early, this isn't the way we do the process. But once they understood the intent, in the end, it's going to save them money.
Yeah.
So if this is the expectation, if you fix it before you invest any more money in it, that's ultimately going to save you money in the process. And so I just wanted to brag on staff. They got in there. I had to leave once we first talked about it, and then a very thorough report from staff in terms of all the identified deficiencies. And we identified something that would become a huge safety issue in the first. So in particular, there's these huge air conditioners, and they have wider fan access than we would have expected. And we could imagine little kids checking that out. And so we identified a safety issue that now we were able to proactively address that before we're a week out from opening. And so there's a whole lot of positive that came out of that.
Great job on the park.
Yeah. Cool.
Really good.
All right, with that, the schedule is in the packet. Nothing out of the ordinary in terms of upcoming work session on the 10th as well, and a meeting. And then no work session, but meeting on the 24th.
Tractor pull on Saturday.
What's the topic of the work session?
So it was supposed to be civic campus design. So this is, September 10th is the completion of the schematic design work. That's the sunset date. And so we had planned for them to come in and sit down and talk through council through all of the present state of the schematic design plans, because that's the end of the work. So you had an opportunity to talk about it and take notes. And then at this point, the schematic design goes on the shelf until council has other direction or intention. So that's what's planned, is to
Just to go over it. Still.
Say that again?
To go over this.
Yes, so to talk through all this stuff in a work session, and so we get recorded. They aren't doing any more work on it after that, but there might be important notes that would be helpful for whatever happens next.
Sounds good. Okay, and with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
We're adjourned.